We have reached the promised time of the year, September, where boys turn to men, where men turn to legends, and we crown the premiership winner. So I think Freo will have a good chance of winning it this year after the season. What do you mean Freo aren't in there? What do you bloody mean Freo lost their last 4 games and bottled the finals after being third in round 18? What the frick? What happened? How Freo have not made finals absolutely baffles me, but I've done well to emotionally detach myself from sport recently because there's been some dicey times, let's just say, boys and girls. Before I predict my grand final winner, I would greatly appreciate if you could leave a like on the video and comment down below who you think will be in the grand final, or just go through your whole final series, how you think the games will pan out. All right, so qualifying final 1, we have Sydney versus GWS. Sydney have been the 1 seed all year. They've done well to earn that first home qualifying final. However, GWS have probably played the most attractive brand of football of any club throughout the year. However, having said that, Sydney won this matchup twice throughout the season, and I think Sydney will come into September a different beast. The first elimination final, we have Brisbane versus Carlton. Brisbane are in that premiership window. They've been there for a long time, obviously playing in the grand final last year. Carlton won this fixture earlier in the season. They will take confidence from that, but I just think they have too many injuries to key players, and even if some of those guys come back in, I'm not sure how they're going to fire up straight away. So I think Carlton will go out in the first round and Brisbane will advance to a semi-final. In the second qualifying final, it will take place between Port Adelaide and Geelong. I think Port Adelaide have finished the season extremely well. They beat my boys in the last round. Their midfield is absolutely humming. Jason Horne-Francis is showing the league why he is the number 1 pick. He's been outstanding. And Geelong have just been well drilled, well coached all year. Had some young stars come through this year like Ollie Dempsey, Sean Manners looked really good to go with those established stars that they already have. I think Port Adelaide are ready to be a serious side. We talk about Port Adelaide as being pretenders a lot, but I think they're genuinely now ready to make a push for the grand final. So I want to pick Port to win at home and proceed to a prelim. The Bulldogs take on Hawthorn on the Friday night slot. This is going to be a massive game. It's just going to be free-flowing, exciting football from both sides. I can't wait for this one. The Bulldogs' pressure has been immense in this last part of the year. Their midfielders are so damaging and their forward line is terrifying. Jamara, Sam Darcy, Norton, Waitman, just absolutely stacked in that forward line. But we got the Hollywood Hawks, who have finished the season in red hot form. They have not stopped since they got going, really. The Hawks had a couple losses here and there, but not much else. They are the hottest ticket in football right now, and they control games and don't let control leave their grasp. They play a full 4-quarter effort, the Hawks. I think they're just a little bit more well-rounded from back to front. I think the Hawks get the job done in front of a big crowd at the MCG to proceed to a semi-final. So in the first semi-final, we have GWS versus Brisbane at GWS's home ground. Now, this is going to be a very tight game. Obviously, these two teams played not long ago, and GWS pretty much dominated proceedings from the second quarter onwards. Brisbane, their time is ticking. This premiership window isn't going to be open forever, so it's going to be an absolutely massive game. I just don't see the Giants going out in straight sets. I think their list is absolutely stacked. They're pretty healthy as well, the Giants. Got Bedford and Daniels to come back in. Their small forwards are incredible. They've got Jesse Hogan, the Coleman Medal winner, an absolute engine in the middle of the ground, and then some All-Australian quality players down back. I think they've had a better season than Brisbane this year, hence they finish higher on the ladder, hence they get a home semi-final, and I think they bank in on that and get a dub to move into a prelim against Port Adelaide. Geelong versus Hawthorn. I'm assuming this would be another big game at the MCG. When this fixture happened earlier on in the season at the G, it was when Hawthorn weren't in good form. They did make somewhat of a late charge, but Geelong were just too good on the day. Then the Cats beat them down at Kardinia Park as well. But this is a different Hawks Geelong will be facing this time around. The Hollywood Hawks, I absolutely love watching these boys go about it. The run that they have off halfback, I think they have quite a lot more speed than Geelong, probably a bit more flair. I rate the Hawks more than I rate Geelong, to be honest. No disrespect to Geelong fans, but I just think the Hawks are going to be bloody hard to stop at the MCG. I think they might run over you. So I'm going to back in the Hawks to make a prelim and knock Geelong out in straight sets. I'm sorry, Geelong fans. Rinse me in the comments. Go ahead. But I just think the Hawks are too good at the moment. So that brings us to our 2 preliminary finals. We have Sydney versus Hawthorn, and Port Adelaide host the Giants. It's crazy to think a team that started the season 0-5 I've predicted to make a prelim, but it's just testament to how good the Hawks have been in this sort of back half or back 3 quarters of the year. Going up to Sydney and beating the Swans at the SCG in a prelim final, though, that is a different kettle of fish. That is different gravy. Sydney, probably a more mature side. Sydney are probably more established with where their list is at. They've been in prelims and finals more recently than this current crop of Hawks players has. I just think they're going to be too hard to stop at home, the Swans. They've been the top seed all year. Their footy, when it is operating on all cylinders, is virtually impossible to stop. So I reckon the Sydney Swans, after a massive season, go in to the grand final in 2024. And Port Adelaide versus GWS. This is absolutely huge for Port Adelaide. They've been called pretenders for years. They haven't made a grand final under Ken Hinkley. They get the home prelim. Can they get the job done against the Giants? We've seen this fixture happen before in finals, and Port Adelaide have been embarrassed many a time in September. I get the feeling, though, that this year Port are going to go all the way to the last Saturday in September. I don't think they're going to pass up on this opportunity with the way that their midfield is operating at the moment. Just the 1-2 punch of Butters and Horne-Francis, not to mention Connor Rozee, but those 2 in particular have been absolutely electric all year. Willem Drew is one of the best taggers in the AFL. He shut down Sarong the other day. Georgiades is coming into great form. Their backs are looking pretty solid as well. So I reckon Port Adelaide beat the Giants at home and send Port Adelaide into a grand final to face off against Sydney. And that is a sick game. I'm keen for that. And obviously this fixture happened about a month ago, and Port Adelaide were 70 points up without the Swans even scoring a goal. So Sydney are going to have that in the back of their minds, and Port Adelaide will probably have it in the front of their minds, thinking we can beat this mob. We've done it with emphasis before. They'll take massive confidence from that. This final series is so tough to predict because it's obviously like one of the most even seasons ever. Every team in finals will feel like they're good enough to beat the other side. It doesn't feel like the number 1 or number 2 seed is that much better than the 7th or 8th seed. We're rolling a dice here. How can you tip Port Adelaide to not beat Sydney after they absolutely pants them about a month ago? In my pre-season predictions, I predicted a Brisbane versus Sydney grand final with Brisbane getting up and winning the flag. Obviously, Brisbane aren't there. I'd probably say just for their best looking football throughout the year, how well-rounded they are, and just the overall caliber of all their lines, the culture that they have, I'm going to have to back Sydney to win the flag after a very impressive 2024. Obviously, they had a bit of a form slump throughout the season, but when September comes around, the cream rises to the top. If they can get Papley back in, and maybe McInerney, I'm not sure if he's coming back in, but they've got pretty much a clean bill of health. They finished top seed for a reason. They've been the best side throughout the year, and if they can get their stuff going in September, they're going to be very hard to stop. But this is such a hard final series to predict. I had to do this a few times just to sort of understand where I thought this was going to fall. Obviously, it's not going to be spot on. There's going to be an upset or a big shock defeat in here somewhere. Geelong will maybe get a win or 2, and maybe 3, and maybe win the flag. I don't know. But have your say. Let me know how you guys think the final series will go. Again, can't believe the Dockers aren't in there because they would have gone all the way this season. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you're new, and we will see you in the next video. I appreciate you watching. Take care. You plonkers.